Before we start tonight's event, just one I would like to promote because it's a little bit last minute, but we are organizing a press conference with the Royal Thai Army on Thursday at 7 o'clock. This is quite unusual. We've had good relations with the Thai military, but for them to actually ask for a press conference here is unusual. Inevitably, they will be talking a lot about the Thai-Cambodian conflict. So it's a very rare opportunity to see four very senior military officers answering questions and giving their version of what's happening on the Thai-Cambodian border. So if you're around on Thursday, 7 o'clock, please do come. But let's get on to tonight's event. And I've been talking to colleagues and trying to remember the last time we had a Thai foreign minister speak at the club. And it was certainly a long time ago. We weren't quite sure whether Khun Kassit ever spoke here when he was foreign minister, but it has been a while. And I think it's fair to say that a characteristic of Thai politics in the last sort of 15 years or so has been that foreign ministers have come and gone, and sometimes they've come and gone before anybody really knew who they were, and that foreign policy has not been a very visible aspect of the way Thailand projects itself in the world. And we, as a Foreign Correspondents Club, our best and most important relationship is with the Foreign Ministry. And for us, it's always a very special moment when we can get a Foreign Minister to come and talk to us. So tonight, we are very privileged and honored to have His Excellency Khun Sihasak Phuangketkeow, who has not been Foreign Minister for very long, but has more experience than possibly anybody else in the MFA. He's done pretty much every job that has ever been done in the Foreign Ministry. Khun Sihasak, can I ask you just to come up and, if I'm going to talk about you, I think I better let people see you. Khun Sihasak will sit down, but I'll just briefly introduce him for those of you who don't know him. He has been Permanent Secretary, he has been Deputy Foreign Minister, he has been Ambassador to Tokyo, he has been Ambassador at the United Nations, he's been Ambassador in Geneva, he has pretty much done it all. All of us who've been in Thailand for a while have known that Khun Sihasak is just about the most experienced and admired hand in foreign policy in Thailand. And I don't think it's too unfair to say that an awful lot of us have been waiting to see you actually occupy the job you do now. Obviously, this is a very interesting time to be foreign minister in Thailand. Well, more than usually. We've got some very big challenges. The Thai-Cambodian border, Thai-Cambodian relations are a huge challenge right now. Resetting Thailand's foreign policy, having had a policy that wasn't well defined, and putting Thailand back at the center of Southeast Asia's projection of itself through ASEAN. And of course, we've got an ongoing civil war in Myanmar. We have the challenge of dealing with the new world that has been created by the advent of President Trump. These are enormous issues for any foreign minister to be grappling with. Khun Sihasak, I'm going to ask you just to run through your own thoughts about Thai foreign policy, and once that's done, we will invite questions from the floor. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Jonathan. It's a great pleasure to be here, and it's a kind of familiar setting for me because I was the spokesperson of the Foreign Ministry for 3 very long years, and but again, always coming to meet with the press, you have to think twice, and I hope that forgive me this time, since I'm coming as the Foreign Minister, I have to be more careful with what I say, because I don't want to, to read the headlines tomorrow and having to deny that I didn't say that. But I'm very prepared to be very frank with you tonight, and also because I think that's the expectation. And I'm not sure I made the right decision because you haven't had a foreign minister here in over a decade. But I'm willing to give it a try. But today, I'm missing a friend here. I'm missing Gwen Robinson. So I think about her a lot, and when I come here, she's always around, and with her very cheeky smile, and I admire her a lot, for being very professional and being a hard-nosed journalist, and she's a good friend. So in the spirit of Gwen, I'm here, and to share my thought with you about Thai foreign policy.
She would have loved it if you'd be here.
Well, first of all, when I was asked to take up this position, I had some second thoughts, because I more or less carefully cultivated my reputation for 40 years as a diplomat. And I was also vice minister briefly. So I've taken up all the key positions as far as foreign affairs is concerned. And I thought maybe, in spite of 4 months, I could maybe try to have as much impact as possible. Because foreign policy these days is not so easy to conduct, because sometimes we cannot allow events to dictate what we do. Sometimes foreign policy is more than just the conduct of day-to-day issues. But that has been the case with Thai foreign policy for the past 10 years, I think. When I asked my friend about Thai foreign policy, my friends being my colleagues in ASEAN mainly, they had the same view. First they said that Thai foreign policy is domestically oriented. And they would say that Thai foreign policy is very minimalist. And they would say that in ASEAN we were MIA. MIA? Missing in action. So when I was in my last few years before retirement, I did feel strongly that we were not where we should be in terms of our place in the region and our place in the world. And Thailand has, I think, we have underperformed in terms of our foreign policy. So I come with that kind of approach that we have to be successful in dealing with the issues that we have to deal with every day. At the same time, we have to have some kind of strategic thinking, strategic focus, because the world is changing so much. We have power shifts. Now everything is about the Indo-Pacific, even though we're not clear what is the Indo-Pacific exactly. And we have more competition, geopolitical competition, definitely more geo-economic, geotechnology competition. But this is the kind of competition that is not good, because it's very zero-sum game competition that we face. And then, we're faced with the choice of where we position ourselves. Should we be with this major power, or should we go with the other major power? And we have all sorts of disruptions around us. And I was at the ASEAN EU Ministerial, and they had also the EU Indo-Pacific Ministerial Conference. The message was the same. We are concerned about this erosion of the rules-based international order. But of course, we want to maintain the rules-based international order, but the rules-based international order also needs reform. It has to reflect the realities that, the changing realities after World War II. But we also were concerned about unilateralism, protectionism, and the erosion of the multilateral trading system. So both EU and ASEAN felt that we had to do our part to maintain free and fair trade. ASEAN is doing it within ASEAN. We're doing it in the region through the RCEP, the Regional Economic Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, which is the biggest regional trading arrangements in the world. The EU is now talking about having more free trade with ASEAN. Now they're negotiating with individual ASEAN member states, but at this meeting we talk about why not do a region-to-region free trade arrangement. So this is the concern expressed about this decline in the rules-based international order that we all felt. So, and of course, we're also facing new challenges, non-traditional security threats, climate change, we're all aware of that. But the new threats that was very clear at the ASEAN summit, the APEC leaders meeting, and also at this EU-ASEAN ministerial meeting is the threat of cyber insecurity, cyber crime, and especially cyber scams, online scams. And I was told, I had a meeting with a senior Thai police person today, and he told me just the sheer number of cases that they have, concerning scams. They have, that the backlog right now is 1 million cases. And this is in Thailand alone. So it's incredible, And so these are the new challenges, new threats that we face. So what do we do? This is Thai foreign policy. We have all these threats. We have the world is changing. But 4 months, maybe 6, 8 months. So for me, we have to prioritize. Things that we can do, things that we cannot do. So otherwise, we stray away from the things that we must do. And the first thing that we must do is get our relations with Cambodia back on track, which is not difficult. It's difficult, I'm sorry to say, not easy, because, we try to have bilateral consultations, and they prefer taking it to the UN, to the ICJ, and we really don't know what is, the most difficult part is that we don't know why this conflict originated. I mean, we're solving all, the consequences, but it did not originate from a conflict of national interest. I want to say, but it did originate from a conflict of personal interest, I think. But anyway, that's the past. So how do we get things back on track? After assuming office not too long, the U.S. came, approached us. I took office 25th of September. I flew to New York on the 26th, and the United States said, let's have they will help facilitate peace talks. And of course, they asked the Malaysians to join. I had a lot of hesitation about doing that, because I did not want to do something for optics. And we knew, and everybody knows, that President Trump was in the midst of a campaign for something, a big prize. So, but I told the U.S. very frankly that, sometimes when we're dealing with a superpower, it's hard to say no, right? But let's make the best of the situation. So I said, okay, we want real peace, genuine peace, not something on a piece of paper. So that's been our approach. And we work hard at it, when we negotiated with the Cambodians. And I went to Kuala Lumpur twice. The last one, it lasted until past midnight. And then luckily I took an aircraft military plane because I arrived back at 3:30 in the morning and I had to get back on the plane at 7 because I had another trip. But we brought, and this is one of the, I think, when the constraints on our policy during the previous government, that we were not able to speak with one voice. When I came for the meetings with the Cambodian side, I made sure that I had the military people with me. And the last meeting, I had 14 top brass from the military. Just to make sure that what I say reflects the view and the mandate of the Thai government. So eventually we had this agreement. It took some time, but for us it addresses the key issues. The withdrawal of heavy weapons, demining, dealing with scams along the border, and also dealing with encroachment, actually on both sides. But I never call it a peace agreement. I never call it a peace accord because I know it was not a peace accord. It was just a pathway to peace. And if we implement what is in there, then we can get things back on track and move towards peace, right? So that's been our thinking all along. And it's a kind of fragile situation where we have to do what we have to do in what we agreed to and try to build up mutual trust and confidence. And that's why this incident of the Thai soldier stepping on the landmine, maybe for some they don't see it as a serious breach, but for us it was, because it was the 7th time that a Thai soldier was severely injured by landmines. 7 times. And it's not only that. Before that, when we had the clashes, they fired rockets, they fired artillery on civilian sites. So we had many civilians who died. We never did that, on our side. And so it brings to the fore a very difficult part when you want to manage the Thai-Cambodia situation now, is public sentiments. Public sentiments, because when you're a democratic government, you cannot be too far away from public sentiments, right? And so that's why we had to say that we suspend. It was reported that we left. No, we didn't leave the KL Accord. We suspended. And we had to say that the Cambodian side would have to be forthcoming in terms of their responsibility, because that is the expectation of the Thai people. Sometimes in a democracy, and we're comparing a Thai democracy to the other side, there is not so much leeway because you have to take into consideration public sentiments. You also have to bear in mind the unity of the Thai side, meaning the military what is the thinking of the military. So that's where we are right now. It's suspended. The Cambodians will have to, because we just recently had the ASEAN observer team at the site, and they clearly said that it's new mines, and that's a violation of the Ottawa Convention. But I heard when I was in Europe for this ASEAN EU meeting, many of my European colleagues were telling me that the story from the Cambodian side was different. These are old mines from the Civil War, but this is clear new mines. So it takes, I think, we really have, right now, I think, time. We need time and patience on Thai side, and we hope that they will come to realize that they have to come around to assuming some responsibility, and let's try to get things back on track. But in the meantime, we're continuing with demining, and continuing with the try to demarcate the borders so we know where the encroachments are. And some of the provisions in the declaration, the CARE declaration, are still working. So even though we suspended the implementation, we're still doing a lot of things unilaterally. And so that's where we stand with regard to Cambodia. And we'll have to see, because I will be going to Geneva on, early the 2nd, the 3rd and 4th, 5th. They have a meeting of the state parties of the Ottawa Convention. I will have to, present my case there, and let's see what the Cambodians decide and what their response will be. So that's with regard to Cambodia, Thailand at the moment. Second is Myanmar. Now, Myanmar is, for Thailand, we have the biggest stakes in peace and stability in Myanmar. My concern, having attended the recent ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting, is that there's a sense of Myanmar fatigue, because many countries say, they're not engaging. They're not trying to engage with the 5-point consensus. Maybe we're not trying hard enough because we put everything on the shoulders of the special envoy. But I'm concerned that the ASEAN is maybe not engaging as much as we should be. Even the role of a special envoy, I was advocating for extended term and not having the special envoy attached linked to whoever is the country that is the chair of ASEAN. We should select someone who has the stature, who has the experience, and then maybe he should be allowed to have 3 years to do what he has to do. But so I think eventually Thailand will have to step up to the plate. And this is what I hope. Once Cambodia is a little bit behind us, we have to do some thinking on the part of Thailand. What are we going to do with regard to Myanmar? Because they're going to have election. So what is our position on the election? We can't say, oh, stop, don't hold the election. And they will proceed with holding election anyway, because I think they feel that they don't, in spite of being an imperfect election, they will achieve partial recognition, they will achieve partial peace. And then they may begin talking with the various ethnic groups individually, because the ethnic groups do not have a common position when it comes to negotiation. But, so what do we do? We're in a dilemma, and at the ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting, we did not come to any real decision. But for me, I feel that we cannot dismiss the election, neither can we embrace the election. What we have to, the message is that election is not the end game. Election will not achieve sustainable peace. Election is only part of a broader peace process which will require inclusive dialogue, reconciliation, addressing the so many issues that relate to peace in Myanmar. Issues of democracy, the issues of what the aspiration of the ethnic groups. So this is going to be a difficult decision for us to take, and what do? We have to work within ASEAN, we have to work bilaterally along with Myanmar, engaging and trying to deal with the border security. At the same time, we have to work with neighboring countries like like Bangladesh, India, and China. So there will be many tracks of diplomacy when it comes to Myanmar, and I think Thailand will have to play not a leading role, but be at the forefront of the diplomatic efforts. Now, I always thought that in a democracy, diplomacy must bring tangible benefits to the people. You know, diplomacy must be relevant to the people. You know, before we thought diplomacy was only, you know, responsibility of diplomats, and nobody cared about diplomacy. And when I was spokesperson, I found out that that's not the case. People want to know about diplomacy. We have to be more transparent. We have to inform the public what we're doing, you know. And for me, the first thing that came to mind about was trying, you know, to ensure that diplomacy yields economic benefits to the people. Diplomats, you know, we're good talker. We go and cocktail, we go make speeches. We want more trade, we want more investment, we want to enhance, but how do we get there? So I've been encouraging diplomats, our ambassadors, our consul generals, that they have to walk the talk. That means they have to know what we want. Where they have to know, you know, what they not just say something, but know what they're talking about. You know, and so, especially in terms of our economy, where you know Thailand has been stuck in the middle income trap for a long time. We want to transition to a new economy, a digital economy, a green economy, innovation. We want to find new engines of growth, and food hub, medical hub, logistics hub, biotechnology hub. So ambassadors will have to, you know, learn new vocabularies, and they will really have to be more targeted on you know, how to promote Thailand's economic interests. And so that's been one of, you know, one of my long-held aspirations. Second is, and I learned this from the current situation with Cambodia, and you know, I sympathize with the job of our spokesperson, because public diplomacy is very crucial now. And so we really have to engage the public, keep them informed, make sure that we listen to the views of the public in terms of making policy. But then, you know what is the difficult part? How do we separate the truth from disinformation and misinformation? Because out there, the social media, you know, sometimes the way things are distorted and reported is so outrageous that you think, how can people give credence to it? But you know, some of this misinformation is out there, and people believe in them. So what do we do? You know, and right now we have a very, you know, before foreign policy was known as something that's bipartisan, right? You say that in the United States as well, right? But no longer bipartisan, and it's very politicized. Nobody took interest in foreign policy issues, right? But nowadays it's politicized and it's so difficult. Sometimes I don't want to read Facebook anymore, because what I thought was a smart comment on my part has been turned around, and then you have all these comments coming in, and you know. But that's the way it is in the world today, and in the democracy, and the world we have all these social media. So we have to learn to deal, you know, with this kind of situation, and it makes diplomacy difficult and all the more challenging. And and the other aspect that I wanted to mention, and I learned this from my 40 years in the Foreign Service, is that in the end, foreign policy is about, it's internally, how you manage foreign policy, you know, how you get everyone on board, how you work as Team Thailand. and how, where we know our respective roles, but we're working towards in the same policy direction, and that's difficult, especially on Cambodia, where last week, before I had a working lunch with the Commander-in-Chief of the Army. Today I had a working lunch with the Supreme, what do they call the position now? It's not the Supreme Commander. Yeah. But anyway, so, I have to spend my time talking with my colleagues in the military, in the National Security Council, because if diplomacy doesn't reflect the thinking of my counterparts, I have a problem. And so, but if diplomacy can be employed in the same direction with defense policy, national, then we can be successful. We can produce some kind of impact. So that's what I have to share with you tonight. Some of my aspiration, expectation, some of my frustration. I hope I didn't say anything that would be misquoted tomorrow morning.
You are the consummate diplomat. I don't think you put a foot wrong. Look, I'm going to open the floor because there's a microphone over there. Can I just make a couple of quick guidelines? I'd like to prioritize journalists asking questions first. Please identify yourselves. Ideally, stick to one question and make the questions clear and short. Just before that, I just want to correct the notice I gave you of the military press conference on Thursday. That's actually at 10 o'clock in the morning, not 7 in the evening. So if you want to come to that, you're going to have to be an early riser. But anyway, Marwan, I will throw
It's not a good way to start with Marwan.
Yes.
Not a good.
There he is. Marwan, go ahead, please.
Thanks. Marwan Mark of Nigeria. It's always a pleasure to see His Excellency Foreign Minister Sihasak in this new role, because those of us who have been covering Thailand for a long time first encountered him as a spokesman of the Foreign Ministry. So it's a long arc of achievement, and welcome to the FCCT. My question is about US tariffs and the problem your government is up against. After the unfortunate incidents on November 10th, when 4 soldiers, stepped on landmines and lost their limbs, the Prime Minister basically was rather cavalier in saying he just wants to suspend or put behind the ceasefire agreement that was signed in KL, and basically questions were raised whether the fate of the trade talks was in peril. And the US trade rep said, yes, it's linked, and if you don't sit at the table, there won't be any trade talks. Can you give us an update on what the exact situation is and where these talks are at the moment? Thanks.
Well, the exact situation, and thank you, Marwan, for that question. The exact situation is I was sitting next to the Prime Minister when he had his phone conversation with President Trump. He expressed his concern, and he offered, what can I do to help, and he urged us to work with the Cambodians, and we said that the problem was about demining, and so he said he will do something about it, and then he said that, if you can do the demining quickly, then we'll chop off some more taxes for you. And this is what he said. So he did not mention anything about suspension of the trade talks. But let me say this. The trade talks are important on their own. They're mutually beneficial. It's not something that we benefit, that we have to plead with the Americans to get tariffs from 36 to 19, no. Because the Americans benefit a lot from the trade talks as well. We have to open up our markets for pork and beef, and many of the agricultural products. We have to make considerable amount of purchase of gas and oil. And we have to buy quite a few Boeings, aircrafts, and so this is about something that we should not link with the issue of Thai-Cambodia relations. That's one point. Second, the Thai-Cambodian relations has a very complex dynamics. It's not something that USA, if we don't do this, we're going to put more tax. No, we have to work it out ourselves. We have to make sure whatever we work out, we will be able to work it out, and so we should not be operating under any kind of coercion. That's not the right way. The right way is to understand the issues, the complexity, and support us to get back to the negotiating table. And so I think it's not right for us to be under any kind of coercion when it comes to Thai-Cambodia, because ultimately it depends on the two countries trying to work things out.
Thank you very much. Peter.
Yeah, Peter Jansen, Business Times of Singapore. Welcome back, Khun Sihasak. I think I echo Jonathan in saying we're all happy to have you there. I have a follow-up question to Marwan's question. I'm just wondering, Thailand has been negotiating with the U.S. since the previous administration, and I think had resolved maybe 70 out of the 80 items that the U.S. was demanding from Thailand. And then I guess luckily Trump stepped in and everything was resolved and you got 19% tariff rate. Meanwhile, and then of course all this new problems occurred. Meanwhile, Cambodia and Malaysia have finalized their agreements with the U.S. Have you been able to look at those agreements and get some idea why Cambodia and Malaysia have been able to do this while Thailand has not? And may I suggest maybe you should nominate President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize because, it certainly seemed to work for Cambodia. Yeah?
Well, I think the Peace Prize is up to the judges to decide. And I think, first of all, the situation is different from country to country. And so it's not the same as Cambodia. But we looked at the final agreement of the Malaysians as, in formulating our negotiating position. We looked, what is, how on this matter, what did the Malaysians do, and what is how the issue was treated. We didn't look at that. That is where, that is very helpful in formulating a position. But the fact that we took so long is because we had a change of government, right? And so that required the new government to relook at what was promised by the previous government and whether we could do according to what they promised. Apparently, maybe there was too many promises. We don't, but we wanted to take a relook at some of the specific issues, specific sector. So to say first, negotiations, yes, taking longer because there was a change of government. Second, yes, there were the agreements reached between U.S., Malaysia, U.S. and Cambodia does provide guidance for our efforts to work out the specific agreements on specific issues with the U.S.
Thanks very much. Next question, Sebastian.
Good evening. My name is Sebastian Berger. I'm the Southeast Asia Bureau Chief for the International News Agency, AFP, and a board member of this club. Foreign Minister, thank you very much again for coming this evening. I hope that it sets an example to your colleagues in government to come and talk to the foreign media. It's a good thing for Thailand. Thank you also for your comments about Gwen Robinson. We miss her too. Gwen was a very straight talker, amongst many things, and I'd invite you to give a straight answer to this question. You described the election in Myanmar as imperfect, which is a word that is open to many interpretations. Would you describe it as free and fair? Would you describe it as credible? Or would you describe it, as critics would say, a travesty and a sham?
Yeah. Well, sometimes we don't have the luxury of thinking what we would like to happen. sometimes we don't have the luxury of, of what is our hope and what is our aspiration, right? Definitely, we want it to be free, fair, and credible. But it's not going to be the case. We know that. I think the challenge is whether it's going to be a stage in the transition of Myanmar back to a process of reforms, a process of democracy. Because we've had that before during the time of General Thein Sein, when they had an imperfect election, but then he had the confidence enough after the imperfect election to release Donald San Suu Kyi and have by-election, and eventually NLD came into parliament and they won the next election. So that's my hope, But you see, we deal with the reality. They will have the election, but we have to tell them that the election can work both ways. It could lead to more instability, but it could be a turning point for them to put in place a peace process. And so that's my hope. I know that it will be an imperfect election, but maybe an imperfect election can also be a good opportunity to return the country back to stability and democracy. Because if I'm the Senior General, I think I want to leave a legacy of some kind of peace and stability in the country.
David?
Foreign Minister, my name is Devjot Ghoshal. I'm the Reuters chief correspondent for Thailand and Myanmar, and also a member of the board of the club. I have a question on Myanmar to, I think, follow up from where Sebastian left off. You obviously describe this as a dilemma. You also say that this is an imperfect exercise, but you're also saying at the same time that this is a potential sort of pathway towards a peace process. My question is in two parts. I think the first is whether, do you actually see, as a result of this election, any way for ASEAN to let the ruling general or whoever becomes the leader back into the ASEAN summit and into the ASEAN fold? Is that a pathway that is possible given the contours of this election? And the second part of my question is there a possibility, or do you expect, or what do you think in terms of the release of Aung San Suu Kyi, either preceding or immediately after the election? Because as you mentioned, even with the last imperfect election, that was a condition that laid the groundwork for the process to go forward. Thank you.
Well, I think under the present circumstances and the fact that the elections will be held when they haven't had the needed inclusive dialogue yet, it will be difficult for ASEAN to re-engage with Myanmar. But I hope that we can maintain a unity in this position. But at the same time, we should explore the opportunity for engagement. And before, I think the thinking was that we have the 5-point consensus, and then they will come to engage with us. And I think we have to engage with them, but engage with them the right way, send the right messages, and encourage them to do better. So that's what my feeling is that we won't be in a position to recognize the elections yet. And then what was the other part of your question?
Aung San Suu Kyi.
Oh, to be very frank, it's time to release her. It's time to release her, I think. And I think it's important that, for me, Thai foreign policy, sometimes we must say things that are the right thing to say. And I think it's time that the regime give consideration to releasing her. it's not, it's for humanitarian consideration. She's been in custody for too long, and and her age, we don't know the condition of her health, and so I hope that they would do that the first thing or immediately.
Can I just follow up? I mean, you've referred to the ASEAN dealing with Myanmar. How much unity is there? I mean, it's been perceived since the coup that there is a sort of split between maritime ASEAN, which is far more sceptical of the military and wants to put more pressure, and what you might call mainland Southeast Asian countries who are more inclined to sort of deal with the military. I mean, what at this stage now, how much unity is there in ASEAN in dealing with Myanmar?
Well, I think all of us still reaffirm the 5-point consensus. But maybe the difference is to what degree are we, proactive or not proactive on the 5-point consensus, right?
You don't think the 5-point consensus is dead?
It's never been dead. What's dead is that we haven't been implementing the 5-point consensus. But I think my concern is not the the split between maritime and mainland. My concern is that we come to a point where, what can we do about Myanmar? What can we do? Maybe we let Myanmar go its own way for the time being, and we get on with other important business of dealing with tariffs, how to promote integration and all that, So I think there's some thinking along that line. We cannot do, and maybe some are also fatigued.
Is there an acknowledgement among your peers in ASEAN that China essentially is leading the process now, and you're only left to follow?
If China is leading, maybe it's because we're not doing what we should be doing. China is doing that because it also has a lot of interest in Myanmar. So China, every country, they will have to secure their immediate interest first. But we also hope that China will realize that the best way of securing its interests is to work towards long-term stability and work with ASEAN on that.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Karishma Vyas from ABC News. Minister, you've talked a lot about what you hope will come out of these elections. Given your extensive foreign policy experience, can you talk about why you think Myanmar is bothering having these elections to begin with, given that they've been widely discredited and panned? And my second question is a follow-up on Jonathan's point. Realistically speaking, how much influence or leverage do you think Thailand has or ASEAN has to influence Myanmar when clearly they're looking, their interests are more with China?
Are you talking about Thai elections?
No, I'm talking about Myanmar elections.
No, elections can work out both ways. It could either be an effort to legitimize what the current situation, the authority of the military regime, or it could be an opportunity to bring about some reforms. It could be, I don't know, but that happened during the time of General Thein Sein, right? And it could, maybe I guess maybe the senior general wants to relieve some of the pressure that he's feeling right now. Maybe he feels that with the election he'll be more confident to engage in talks with the ethnic groups, and then perhaps then we see partial peace and partial dialogue, and we build on that. So that could be bad. But I think that for on our part, we have to urge them that this is not the end game, the election, right? And second, we have to work with countries like India. I will be traveling to India this weekend. We have to talk with China. Let's work together. And ASEAN will also has to do more in terms of the 5-point consensus. So I think that things will not fall in place unless we try to make an effort to have things fall in place. So as a diplomat, I always say that I'm cautiously optimistic. Yeah. It's probably not the answer that you would like, but
It's a diplomatic requirement to be cautiously optimistic.
yes, that's right.
Next question, please.
Good evening. Sawasdee krap. My name is Napat Kongsawat from NHK. Excellency, well, thank you for sharing us your time with us today. I'd like to just ask about the elections in Myanmar, especially regarding the ethnic armed organizations along the Thai border. A lot of the reporting has been turned towards transnational crime along the border, whether that be scams along Mewadi, Mersal, or even issues with rare earth mining in Shan State. Does the ministry or do you personally expect discussions and negotiations to be more straightforward after the upcoming election? Since a common refrain from many agencies has been that there's difficulty finding the right stakeholder to discuss with between Naypyidaw and the ethnic armed groups.
You asking basically whether Thailand will talk directly to BGF and Shan armed groups?
Well, basically in the future post-election, in these discussions, would Thailand talk directly with the armed groups or would they defer to Naypyidaw's authority?
Well, I think we have to recognize the reality that when it comes to the border, we have to talk with the ethnic groups because there are problems that we have to manage along the border, right? And at the same time, if we want to encourage the military regime towards dialogue as well as the ethnic groups, we have to be able to talk with the ethnic groups and the military regime. And we also, when it comes to mining and all that, we have to be able to, to engage the government in Naypyidaw, And so this is the reality that you cannot just say that our efforts to promote peace and stability. We have to also will guide our policy on Myanmar. We also have to deal with the reality of the situation on the ground. And that requires talking with the ethnic groups on situations concerning Swekoko, all these scams, right? It requires us to talk with the government in Naypyidaw about the mining and the pollution it has caused.
Okay. Next question, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Phil Robertson, Director of Asia Human Rights and Labor Advocates, and a member of the board of the FCCT. ขอแสดงความซึ้งใจที่คุณพูดถึงคุณแกวนของเรานะครับเราก็เลยก็ซึ้งใจมากนะครับเขาคือแกวนก็เป็นคนพิเศษของเรา I wanted to ask a question about Murray Hunter, who is an Australian journalist who the FCCT has recently put a statement out about. The concern, obviously, is that Murray Hunter, who has spoken frequently about Malaysia but now been charged with criminal defamation in Thailand, that this is a form of strategic litigation against people's participation or a slap suit. The concern is, of course, that if, in fact, this is successful, other countries like Myanmar, Cambodia, or Laos, or others might pursue a similar path. So my question to you is, what is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs going to do about this issue, given the fact that Thailand's reputation is on the line and Thailand's reputation about media freedom, particularly, is on the line with this case.
Well, I'm aware of this case, and but that is the process of the law. And I probably, if you ask me to give my personal opinion, it would be a little bit different. But we have to, I think, let the due process run its course. And I hope that, this sense, the principle of freedom of expression and ensuring justice will prevail at the end. But it's not easy for me to comment on this because we have, it's a legal process and we have to let it run its course. But if you ask for my personal opinion behind the microphone, I can give you my personal opinion on this. But I know that we have to be mindful that how it reflects on Thailand.
Would you be concerned about countries using, let's face it, the ease with which you can file a criminal defamation case here? They always get taken up. They tie people up for years. They cost a huge amount of money to defend against. That they can do that for an offence that has really nothing to do with Thailand. I doubt whatever Murray Hunter wrote, he's got a blog and it has very few followers. It's written in English. It's exclusively about Malaysia and about one Malaysian agency. It's extremely unlikely that the reputation of this agency has been in any way affected in Thailand. And yet, the case can be filed with relative ease, not just filed, I mean, he was detained at the airport. I mean, do you have concerns that Thailand might be being used in this way to get at people?
Well, first of all, I don't want, I'm looking at, they were coaching me before coming here on this case. First of all, I don't want to comment on this specific case. I have some personal feelings of my own. But I think I'm also concerned in general about the law being politicized, being used for political purposes. So that's how I see it.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Good evening. Minister Tomasz Augustyniak, I represent Polish media. I'm a correspondent in Southeast Asia. So I'd like to, if you don't mind, jump into another country, which is China. So recently we had a hugely symbolic visit of His Majesty the King to Beijing. And I would like to ask you not about the visit itself, but about what your ministry, what kind of discussions, rather new discussions your ministry has been with the Chinese side after that visit. In particular, if I may ask you about the investment in Kra Canal, or rather the Kra land bridge, whether there was any discussion between the Chinese and the Thai side about this topic, and anything else, obviously, that you opened after the King's visit.
Yes, thank you. Well, I had the great fortune of accompanying, and as well as the Prime Minister accompanying their Majesties on the visit. And you always, at your best to be very proper. So during the visit, there was no discussion on any political issues. I assure you that. But I think that the visit was symbolic in the sense that it reflected the close ties between Thailand and China. And actually, it was the president who raised the issue of China purchasing more Thai rice, and also encouraging and more Chinese tourists to come to Thailand. As you know, this is one problem that we have right now, is we have less Chinese tourists coming to Thailand, and our economy is dependent a lot on tourism. So right now we will have what we call the Lan Chang Mekong Summit, or the Mekong Lan Chang. It depends on if the Chinese they say Lan Chang Mekong, if we say Mekong Lan Chang Summit. But the Prime Minister of China, who's coming to represent China at the summit, he will be paying a bilateral official visit before the summit. The summit is the 14th, and at the moment, we're working on a bilateral visit by the Prime Minister of China on the 13th, and I think there'll be an opportunity to discuss many other issues as well.
If I could just follow up, please. Regarding the Kralan Bridge, has there been any newly opened talks about that with China?
I can't hear you now.
Accra land bridge, has there been any movement?
Oh, no, there was no discussion. I think the land bridge requires, from my personal opinion, a lot more study on the Thai side, you know, and we really need to do more feasibility study, the viability of the project, and so we did not raise anything about that.
Just the final one, is it on the agenda of Prime Minister Lee conversation?
We're working on the agenda, but as far as I know, it's not on the agenda. Not on the agenda, as far as I know.
The next question, please. And just to let you know, the Foreign Minister has to leave in 5 to 10 minutes, so we'll take just 3 more questions at most.
Thank you very much. I'm Genki Ito from Japan's Kyodo News Agency. You have experience as a Thai ambassador to Japan. So I have a question. Simply, what do you think of the current ongoing situation between Japan and China?
That's an easy one for you.
Yes, no comment. It's complicated as it is, and I think that, you know, for us, we have to maintain the status quo, that's all. And it's a very sensitive issue, and we just need to keep the status quo.
Next question, please.
Hi, thank you for being here. I'm Sarah Newey from The Telegraph. I want to turn quickly to another subject you mentioned as a big threat in your introduction, which is scam centres. What more can Thailand be doing to combat the situation in Laos, Cambodia and Myanmar, especially given that victims and criminals are coming through Thailand? And where are the weak links in the international cooperation to crack down? Thank you.
Yes, I think, as I mentioned, you know, I just realized the magnitude of the problem today. You know, I knew it was a serious problem. You read in the newspaper, you read about the victims of human trafficking, victims of those who lost their life saving in the United States or in Europe, you know. And so I realized the magnitude, but I did not realize that it was that serious when after I had this discussion with a senior police person. So what do? I think it's time that we all get together and really do something about this problem. But it's not going to be easy because the situation exists because instability, lack of rule of law, and we have to say involvement of officials, you know. But we do need to, and that's why Thailand is hosting a meeting, an international meeting on the 17th of December at the ministerial level to mobilize international effort, to mobilize political will to do something about it. And we have, you know, so many processes in place. We have the UN process, we have the regional process and all that, but we have to consolidate these processes. And so we hope that at this meeting in Bangkok on the 17th of December, we will get together to address the issue of intelligence sharing, the issue of law enforcement. You know, really, we have to just pool our resources. We need to have an international task force to deal with these crimes. Once we have the information, how do we act on it? And it's a test case of countries who are at this, where these crimes are taking place, whether they're really cooperating or not. I don't want to mention the name of the country, but we know where these crimes are taking place.
Do you sense there's more will, particularly in Thailand, but
Yes.
perhaps more neighbouring countries to deal with it? Is there a sense of urgency?
There is a sense of urgency at the meeting at the ASEAN summit, the APEC leaders meeting, and at this meeting I had in Brussels. Sense of urgency that it's not something far away anymore, you know. So, but now how to act and how to achieve real impact. And I'm afraid that, it's a situation that's happening next door to Thailand. And
Next question, please.
Hello, my name is Christopher Woody. I'm an American freelance journalist here in Bangkok. Since the accord was signed in Malaysia, the U.S. Secured a trade deal with Cambodia and agreed to revive its military relationship with Cambodia. Meanwhile, the U.S. and Thailand are still negotiating a trade deal, and the U.S. appears to be pressuring Thailand over its decision to suspend the implementation of the accord. I wanted to ask if you have any concerns about the way the U.S. is handling it. Its seemingly disparate approach to Cambodia and to Thailand could have a longer-term negative impact on Thai views of its relationship with the United States.
well, I mean, I cannot, say, I don't want to, to pass my judgment. But what I can say is that Thailand is the oldest treaty ally of the United States in the region. We've been through much together, and we are the second biggest economy in ASEAN. And so I hope that US would look at Thailand on those merits, right? But sorry to say that we've never been able to say exactly about the Nobel Peace Prize. But please, whatever you want to do with Cambodia, it's your decision. But, please look at Thailand, the fact that we are an important ally. We are a non-NATO ally as well. And so let's look at the relationship, on its merit. And sometimes, we are a country that respects our dignity. And, we don't operate under pressure, even from a major power. We may bend a little bit, but, the sense of self-dignity is very important to us.
I'm going to have to make this the last question because Sihasak has to go. Is that Saksit?
Yep.
Okay.
My name is Saksit Sihasak, I'm a Thailand correspondent for CNA. Your Excellency, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and opinions this evening. I want to flip around the perspective a little bit and also pick up on what you said earlier about Thailand being MIA on the diplomatic world stage. My question is about the continuity, or rather the lack of continuity in Thai foreign policies, because we all know Thailand's governments have changed a lot, and how you can, in your role, given that this government is only going to be around for 4 months at least, how can you actually show that Thailand is back in action?
Well,
and as a follow-up, would you be available to serve the next government if being called upon?
That's probably the most important question.
Well, first of all, I'm just thinking about the 4 months and maybe extend it a little bit. I'm happy in retirement. But you see, I think previously, as I mentioned in the beginning, we were operating on a day-to-day basis, managing the issues. And we really have to think long-term, and we have to have a strategic direction. So 4 months, okay, I hope that I get the Thai-Cambodia conflict behind us. I hope we try to do more on Myanmar. I hope we develop some kind of strategic autonomy with regard to US and China. And I hope that we try to get ASEAN to look at, the need to change some of the ways we've been, the ASEAN ways that we're proud of. And it's very important, but maybe we have to relook at the principle of non-interference. Does it apply anymore to the present day? We're not interfering in Myanmar in the sense that we're trying to help Myanmar out of a difficult situation. And I'm afraid that non-interference has been an excuse for no action, or an excuse for a country doing whatever they can with their people. So I'm just hoping that, some of these long-term issues, I encourage my young colleagues at the ministry to think about them, and hopefully that will be my legacy after 6 months.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sihasak. And, we look forward to welcoming you back after the next election.